Everybody, all right, here we go. So today's webinar, thank you for joining me. My name is Scott Ellis. I'm a product marketing specialist, and today we're going to talk about data loggers, in particular temperature and humidity, and which HOBO best suits your needs. Today's agenda, we're going to do a brief company overview and then start to dive into the technology and the different options that we have, whether that's standalone, wireless, web-based, and then of course we'll take some of your questions here and look into some of the calibration questions that we may have. So about Onset, we are the world leader in HOBO data loggers. This is our facility that's located in Bourne, Massachusetts on Cape Cod. We were founded in 1981, so we've been in business 31 years. We have 130 employees. All of our manufacturing here is done in this building as well. And we've sold over 2 million HOBO data loggers. And actually just recently, within the past 6 months, we've added solar panels to both roofs. So actually here and here, and now we have 900 solar panels here, so we're doing our best here to get off the grid. So we're going to take a look at the technology overview. These are different types of measurements that all of our products that can measure, whether it's energy or water or weather. But really the two that we're going to focus on today is temperature and relative humidity. I may refer to relative humidity as RH or just plain humidity throughout this webinar. So why is temperature and relative humidity important? That's the age-old question that a lot of folks get. Is it too hot or too cold? And you need to prove whether you need to prove something, whether something's actually working or not. And a lot of times that comes down to troubleshooting heating and air conditioning system. Temperature and humidity are also important in museum and storage areas where you need to maintain a particular environment. Commissioning, a lot of times we see folks that they end up using the HOBO products when a building automation system just isn't enough, or they need to get out and do some short-term spot check monitoring. We have low-cost tools to help you save money and energy for temperature setback strategies. And moisture. Obviously in a lot of places now there are a lot of mold issues, whether that's dry down or new construction. So you want to have a logger in place to determine if this is going to be a problem or not. And before I get into the platforms, I will be taking questions here as this goes along, so feel free to type those in. The slides will be available online afterwards. We're recording this whole thing, and we'll send them out in a follow-up email. So taking a look at the different types of data logger platforms, we have what's called a standalone platform. We have a wireless data node platform and a web-based monitoring system. And I'll dive into each of these options here. I'll dive into each of these options here in the slides coming up and see which best system best meets your needs. So we'll first take a look at standalone. So the nice thing about standalone data loggers is that they're simple and quick to deploy. They aren't expensive. They're portable and reusable. The software is available for both Macintosh and Windows, which is called HOBOware Pro. And there's a device called a HOBO Shuttle, which is a data transfer device, which I'll talk about in a few slides here. When we do say standalone, and I do see we have the little person sitting at the computer here, again, the only time that you need to be connected to the computer is when you're actually starting up the logger or reading out the logger. Other than that, it stands alone out in the field they're battery operated to do the recording. So when we look at temperature and humidity loggers, we kind of have two different options here in our standalone, where there's indoor products and there's outdoor products. And the major differences here is that the indoor can't get wet, and the outdoor are either made with a weatherproof enclosure or have the ability to go into an enclosure so that they're safe from rain and the elements. So first we'll take a look at our indoor product line, starting off with our lowest cost solution in the U10 003 logger. This is the lowest cost, the least accuracy, which I'll talk about that in a second. That's really not a negative though. And it does have a bit of a limited RH range. It is the smallest logger that we offer. Next we have the U12, which is a more cost-effective logger. It does have better accuracy and a wider relative humidity range. And then we have our U14, which obviously, as you can see, it does have a display on it, so it's showing you the data in real time. It does have our best accuracy and the widest relative humidity range. With the U10 at our lowest cost at $81, I've put up some of the specs here, but basically we're under a degree Fahrenheit for accuracy on the temperature. The RH, I've highlighted these in red because if you are considering the U10, this basically bottoms out at about 23% relative humidity. So if the relative humidity drops below that, you'll basically get a flat line until it comes back up above. So that's something to take into consideration if you do choose this logger and you're in an area, say in Arizona or here in the Northeast during the wintertime, where we'll regularly see in uncontrolled environments, anywhere from 9 to like 15% humidity. The accuracy is 3.5%. It has the ability to record 52,000 measurements. You split that in half, basically getting temperature and humidity, so 26,000 measurements. And then all of our loggers do have a replaceable battery. Next is the U12, where again it's a little more expensive, but our accuracy does get better at 0.63 Fahrenheit and 2.5% RH. But as you can see, this is going to be a better fit for those environments that you're going to get down to the lower RH readings. So it'll go from 5 to 95%. A little less memory because of the accuracy. You'll get 43,000 measurements. And again, it has the user replaceable battery. And then we have the U14, the one with the display here. And this has our best accuracy at under half a degree at 0.36 Fahrenheit, and again 2.5% RH, and this is going to cover the full range. Although the sensor will go up to 100%, this particular logger can't get wet, so you don't want to put it into a condensing environment. And I'm getting a couple questions here about the memory. I will touch on that in a second in terms of how long you'll actually be able to record for. I am going to go into the HOBOware software and talk about that briefly. In terms of our outdoor loggers, there are cases where you're going to need a measurement outside. In a lot of the applications, just recording the indoor air temperature and humidity may not be enough. And if you're not close enough to a local airport where you can grab some weather information, it's helpful to be able to put one of these products right outside and see what's going on in your local area. So on the left we have the U23, which is a self-contained unit with the 6-foot temperature and humidity probe. Both of these products have the best accuracy and widest relative humidity range. Obviously the U14, it has the display on it, which is kind of nice if you want to just take a quick check and without having to offload the information. The specs on this product, again, the 0.36 Fahrenheit and the full relative humidity range and 2.5% accuracy on the relative humidity. I'll dive into the price here on the next slide, but your overall cost is looking at essentially $252. And it does have a 3-year user replaceable battery. It's a half AA lithium. And then we have the U14. It's a little more pricey at $496, but I'll go into why. And again, both the products have the same accuracy. Again, the U14 does have the display where the U23 does not. So in terms of what we recommend when you put this outside, we do recommend putting the temperature and relative humidity sensor into what we call a solar radiation shield. And what this does is it protects the sunlight from elevated temperature readings. So if you've ever gotten into your car on a hot summer day, it's extremely hot in there, and basically the air inside's been cooking, and you don't want your sensor to give you false readings. In some cases, I had one of the products on my backpack, and the outdoor air temperature was actually only in the 80s, but because that was out and being baked on by the sun, I was actually getting readings of upwards of 150 degrees. So you want to make sure that the sensor itself is protected to give you accurate measurements, and that also allows for airflow to go through there. For the U14, we have a NEMA 4X enclosure that the logger fits into. It has the clear front so you can still see the display, and that's going to protect from rain and dust and all that. And actually, this is a picture of the product that I have mounted outside on my deck. So, in terms of how the costs break down, the U23 itself is $193. And then you have the cost of the solar radiation shield. This it uses what we call an optic base station to offload the logger, and that's just a one-time cost of $115. In terms of the U14, since the sensor isn't built into this model, it's on an external cable. You obviously can't put the one with the built-in sensors inside of a case, because now you're recording its own microclimate. So, so you want to use this model with the external probe. Now this probe, it's about 6 feet long, and that goes for $189. And then you have the case, and then of course the solar radiation shield. So although it's a little more expensive at $496, the complete solution there, it's definitely a nice option to use that product and to be able to walk out and basically walk up and see what's going on without having to offload. I'd like to point out that there are other standalone temperature and relative humidity loggers in our product line. The ones that I've talked about are strictly dedicated to temperature and humidity. These other products here will allow you to do other things like plug in external sensors. For example, the H22 logger there can plug up to 7 temperature and humidity probes. We do have outdoor products as well, other ones that will allow for, and I would like to point out actually the U23001, it does have an internal temperature and RH sensor. I would use this in cases where you do not need the solar radiation shield, and you can potentially mount the logger underneath an overhang. So, for example, your typical local library, let's say, has usually an entryway, and you could potentially mount a logger up under there. So that's a great solution at around $160 or so. If you do not need the solar radiation shield. In cases where you do need the radiation shield, we recommend the other models that we've looked at there. Of course, I always recommend folks to go to our website if you want to see the full product line. In this particular case, you come in and click on the Products tab and then over to Relative Humidity, and this is going to give you the entire suite, and you can go through and compare and look at all the different models here. The HOBO Shuttle that I talked about earlier, it's a neat little device. If you have a bunch of the standalone loggers in your facility, and let's say you want to download them once a week, once a month, whatever, rather than going out and collecting them all and then bringing them back to your desk and offloading them or walking around with a laptop, you have this little shuttle device that fits in the palm of your hand. It can download up to 63 full loggers. If your loggers are not completely full, you can actually, I think I've gotten close to 250 data files onto one of these shuttles. So nice little device. It's going to allow you to offload and then relaunch or restart the logger with the same parameters that you had before in the field. If you do need to change launch parameters such as your sampling rate or anything like that, at that point you do need to plug it back into the computer. But really kind of a nice way to get all of your information. And taking a look at the HOBOware software, and I'm going to switch over to that here in just a second so we can take a quick peek at it. But really it's going to allow you to go through and set up all of your HOBO data loggers. And as the question that comes in, I know we do have some folks that have the older product line, which is called the H8s, that use the boxcar software. We've made some improvements on HOBOware, but you still have to launch and read out your the H8 products with the boxcar software. However, you do have the ability now to either import or double-click on that data file and open it up with the HOBOware program. So I'd encourage folks that have that that are using that to download our 30-day free trial and test that out. So that's going to allow you to work with the two different product lines there. So what I'll do, you've probably all read the bullet points at this point, so what I'm going to do here real quick is just switch over to HOBOware. And this is the HOBOware program. I have a U10 currently plugged in here. And just to show you how easy it is to launch the products or to start a product and read it out, we're going to click on the launch button and hit OK. And what you see here is this is essentially your setup screen. Your description, you'll want to change this so that basically this follows through the logger throughout. So this will become as a part of your file name when you read it out. It'll also be at the top of your graph. It's going to show you your battery life, temperature and relative humidity. We do have some advanced features here where you can set a max or average if you want to filter some data. In terms of your logging intervals, as you change these, it's going to show you how long your data logger is going to last for. So this was the one with the 53,000 or 52,000 measurements. So at a 15-minute sampling rate, you're coming up just short of a year. But as you change that, and of course if you don't like anything from our drop-down list, you can always choose your own, and this will actually show you a better idea in terms of how it'll update it in real time. And then you have your different starting options here, so you can start it on a particular date and time, add an interval, or with a push button. If you're working with multiple loggers, I definitely recommend either doing it at the next interval or on a date and time. So even if that's just 15 or 20 minutes from now, that's probably a good idea to do. But for this, I will just launch it, and we'll start it now. And what it does is it sends all the information out to the logger, and now you can unplug it from the computer. And although you can't see this, the little red light's blinking at me that confirms that it's actually operating. And then to read it out, it's simply just come back up, device, read out, and you can either stop or don't stop the logger. This particular file is not going to be interesting because it's just a couple seconds worth of information. But that's how simple it is to get a plot, essentially. And what I can do is open this one here. So a little more interesting information here with your temperature and humidity, and there's some things that you can do in the software. I'm not going to dive too deep into the software here, but we do have other webinars actually on our YouTube site that goes really deep into the software. One thing I'd like to point out for existing users, we've added a bunch of new features over the past couple years in the preferences. So go to File and go down to Preferences. I strongly recommend that you get in and take a look at some of these settings when you get into the plotting and some other things like that. So at your convenience, please take a look in there or in our Help menu as well, and that will that'll point out some of those new features for you. Oops. There we go. Before I move on here, what type of external RH measuring devices do you offer? And just since I'm right here, I'm just going to go back up a couple slides. That's these products here where they can go outside. They are weatherproof. And as you can see, they have the probes on them, so you can either snake a probe outside or if you need to put it into a wall. But really, these are the products that you're going to want to use in an outdoor or a condensing greenhouse environment or something along those lines. The best accuracy that we have right now is 2.5%. I don't see us actually being able to do better than that at this point. There are trade-offs, and essentially the price is going to go through the roof if we get down to a product that is going to be better than essentially 2%. Once you start getting into that 1.5–1% range, the product you're going to start looking at the probably $500 to $1,000 range. So stuff jumps up pretty quickly there. And an application that we had here using loggers, a weatherization study, the Oak Ridge National Laboratory and the Energy Center of Wisconsin, they got funded by the government in a $5 billion federal assistance program, the National Weatherization Assistance Program Evaluation. And what they did was basically take a look at low-income housings in the Midwest, Northeast, and South, and they're trying to tell the energy savings between natural gas and the fuels that are bulk delivered, propane or oil. And as you can see, it's kind of tough to be able to tell the difference because some folks may be using other things to offset the cost of propane and oil. So it's kind of tough just to look at those deliveries. So what they ended up doing was using, as a part of this study, they used other HOBO loggers too to determine run times, but they used the U10s basically at the main thermostat there. And then in other places throughout the homes, places where they may have been using space heaters or wood stoves, they recorded that information there. And again, they used some of our other products that monitor runtime, and I believe the project has recently wrapped up. But what they're going to do is take that information and compare that to the propane and the oil that essentially is being used, and compare that to the natural gas and see which is more efficient. No, I actually did mean 5 billion. B. Yeah, that wasn't a typo. That was a huge project. It wasn't just specifically for this. It was a huge weatherization study that Oak Ridge National Laboratories and got a piece of. But I guess it's the first time that they've done this study in about 10 or 15 years, and they were out there looking at all different areas all throughout our country, essentially, in the different climate zones. And before I move on, the product that was used to monitor run times, that's called a U9 or UX90. It's our state logger, and that was connected up to the furnaces and basically tell when they turned on and off. Gives you a time and date stamp. So moving on to our next platform is something called wireless, which is our ZW data node product line. Essentially the way that this works is it's a centralized data collection where you have a receiver connected to your computer, and the data nodes are communicating wirelessly back to your computer. So you have the information streaming in. It uses a Zigbee type mesh technology where the nodes will talk to each other so they can transmit and receive information. It's a self-healing network, so if something drops off or is in the way, the nodes are always trying to find their best way home. There is onboard memory, so in case of the computer going down for whatever reason, you're not going to lose any data. And there's alarming capabilities, so I'll show you a demo on this as well. Really, this is designed for folks that need to do on-site monitoring. We see a lot of folks who are using these for longer-term monitoring needs. And it's nice because you can start off with a small network and continue to grow that as different needs come up. So essentially, we have two different models here that get into temperature and humidity. We have the one with the integrated sensor, which is on the side. Again, this has our better accuracy both on the temperature and the humidity. For folks who are throwing in, we got a bunch of calibration questions here. I am going to touch on that in probably about 8 slides, so stay tuned. So these are the two different ones. One has a probe that you can plug into it, and again, they do have the onboard memory buffer, and they can either be AC powered or battery powered. As I said before, this system is scalable, so these are all of the different type of data nodes. The receiver, which goes for $199, that's required, and then depending upon what you need to monitor, most of these have temperature and humidity on them, but we do have some that will take other sensors if you want to do kWh or anything along those lines. So that's a quick overview of all the products there. This is just kind of a quick example. The distance, it's 300 feet line of sight is how far these will transmit. Now, of course, there's always cases, and again, we have the software that runs on both Mac and Windows here. To give you a quick example of how this will work, not all buildings are made the same. So in cases where, let's say you have steel construction, the walls are thinner, you may get true to that 300-foot line of sight, where in cases of, for this example here, the dual purpose, the double arrow here, this is essentially a node that is AC powered, and this will transmit and receive data. The data nodes with just a single arrow are battery operated, and they're just communicating back. They can't transmit and receive. But as we go along here, we want to push something out. There is a router that a good example of a case where we were working in a facility that was steel construction, and they basically needed to create a backbone down the building. So a bunch of routers were plugged in and connected down through the and a router is basically like a repeater. Sorry, I don't want to confuse that with a Wi-Fi router or anything like that. It's essentially a repeater, and you can put those in, and as you can see here, is if an instruction gets in the way, you know, the data nodes are going to find their best path to get back to the receiver. So the receiver is basically doing all the collecting, and basically it's the handshake between the computer itself and all the data nodes out there, where the router / repeater you know, is going to allow you to keep expanding that network out and out and out and out and out throughout your whole facility. As a part of the HOBOware Pro program, there's something called HOBOnode Manager in here, which allows you to manage this ZW network. So it gives you the ability to see graphs, set alarm thresholds, and I'll just flip over to HOBOnode Manager, where this is essentially what it looks like. I have my temperature and my humidity data coming in, really uneventful because all these are in the same room with me. But it's being updated. The data gets sent once a minute. It records every minute, and you can have it be transmitted as quick as every 2 minutes. You have the ability to basically come in and set sensor alarms. So for a particular device and a particular sensor, you can set above, below, and outside of range. You can be notified by email, text message, or you can have a visible or audio alarm pop up. So there's a couple different options if you want to be notified. Of course, on the text message and the email, it does require that that you do have an internet access. And I'll go back to the plots here. You also have the ability to automatically send out the information. So you can set it up so it's sent to you in an email. Let's say you want to do a download on a daily basis and have it emailed to you. You can have that sent to you. You can you also have the ability to send that to an FTP site. At this point, we don't have the ability to get the data out to the internet. So if you're at a facility where this may be deployed, and let's say you do not have, you'll end up needing to basically use something like LogMeIn or VPN access to get your data off. But again, you do have the data delivery, and there's also a map view here as well, so you can actually show where you want this to be. And as you can see, these are all plugged in routers, so they're actually talking back and forth. Data nodes, they're talking back and forth, and then we have one of the battery operated ones here, and you can click on any of these and it'll show you what's going on in real time. And you can import an image here too, so if you want to put in a particular map, let's say, of your building, you can put that in as well. What's considered an obstruction to the wireless system? Really good question. In the case of our building, I don't know if you remember back to the very first slide, our building is a huge L shape, and we had a delivery truck come in, basically an 18-wheeler, where from one side of the building, let's say here, you know, basically going from here to here, what ended up happening is that the delivery truck sat right here, and it was probably there for a good hour or so, and it couldn't essentially, the signal couldn't get around that. And at that point, we were testing the outer limits of its range. So what ended up happening is the data node said, okay, well, let me talk and see if there's anybody else who I can talk to. And there was something else, and so it actually snaked its way down the whole L-shaped building and made its way back around and essentially back to the receiver. So that can certainly happen. And then just in cases of, you know, let's say you're in an older building, a stone building, a brick building, and you're trying to communicate from one floor to another. Sometimes those walls are so thick that you can't communicate through them, so you may have to use repeaters to maybe go up a stairwell to be able to help guide or bounce that information all the way up. Oops. So we've had a couple really kind of neat applications here. This one's actually very cool. It's a high-tech storage in Fort Lauderdale. Basically, it's this big crane that brings exotic cars up and down and stores rare paintings and all that sort of stuff. And obviously, all these things are very climate sensitive, so they're maintaining a very small window on temperature and humidity, and they have the data nodes throughout their facility where they're all coming back to a centralized computer and essentially receiving any sort of alarms if something goes outside of range. So either security guard or the person on duty can then go over and see if there's a problem with the HVAC system and be notified immediately, rather than, you know, let's say it's a long weekend and nobody's there. So just a sort of a quick way to really see what's going on. And another installation here that we had recently at the Carnegie Museum of Natural History in Pennsylvania. This building, to be honest with you, had its challenges. This is where you got into some situations where you had really thick stone walls that you may not be able to communicate from one room to another. So they used a combination of battery-powered nodes and plugged-in nodes and or repeaters to be able to bounce the information around. But essentially, over 3 different buildings, they deployed 50 of these data nodes. And what they're trying to do, at least at this point, is get their HVAC system under control and begin to maintain 40 to 50% in all areas. Down the road, what they're looking to do is expand upon these nodes and look at some of the other ones where you can get into measuring energy and really start to dive into maybe some of the, I know they want to take a look at lighting and some other things like that. So this is where they've, quote unquote, started off small for this size of facility, and they'll be able to add on to it essentially. So now we're going to take a quick look here at the web-based product. The web-based monitoring solution is called our U30. There's a range of remote communications, whether that's cellular, Wi-Fi, or you can plug it into an Ethernet port. You can gain access to your data in real time through something called HOBOlink.com, which is a secure web server. And it gives you a wide range of being able to record environmental and energy monitoring applications. This is the U30. As you can see, it's in a pretty rugged case. It's really designed to be deployed outside, although we do have folks using these inside and outdoors, but it's great for industrial environments. As you can see by the bottom here, we have the nice little gasket here to keep everything weatherproof. This uses a lead-acid rechargeable battery that gets recharged by solar or AC power. So really a tough little box that can go through just about everything. I'm not going to go through this in detail. I'll let you kind of take a look at it, but what you've got here, this is the inside of the U30 itself. It has a second enclosure right here where we keep all the main electronics safe. There's a USB port on here. Essentially, you can have up to 15 sensors plugged into this particular logger. And you have the Gore-Tex vent to allow it to breathe, so there's no condensation building up on the inside. So again, it's just a really rugged type product. So as I discussed before, we have three different solutions here. There's a cellular that uses the AT&T, there's Wi-Fi, and there's Ethernet. As you're going to see, this may not be the most cost-effective approach to get temperature and relative humidity monitoring done unless you need remote communications. The cellular is a great example of where we've seen folks have used temperature probes to be alerted. Let's say if a refrigeration unit goes down, they're going to get a notification immediately that that their temperature has gotten outside a particular range. So as you can see, the cellular starts at $850, and the cellular plans /HOBO link, you get that plan directly through us. You don't have to deal with AT&T. We take care of that for you. But basically, 1 minute logging and 2 hour uploads. Again, the advantage, usually this gets built into a larger type system where temperature and humidity is one component of the overall system that you're installing. And we do, actually, that is correct. That does say free. For the Wi-Fi and the Ethernet, our HOBOlink plan is free for a 5-minute logging interval, and 1 hour uploads means that it'll take all that 5-minute data and throw it up to the internet once an hour, essentially. And we do have a couple paid plans there, which are basically $120 a year if you need to go faster. The sensor that's used for this particular one, they're called smart sensors. Again, it's our most accurate on the temperature and the humidity. It has the wide range. What makes it smart is this electronic. We have some electronics built in here, so when you plug it into the U30, it automatically knows that it has a temperature and humidity sensor plugged into it, so there's no real configuring each channel and all that sort of fun stuff. Again, as I said before, this is usually built into a larger system, so this is a good overview of all the different measurements that the U30 can take, whether you're doing a weather station to getting into energy and HVAC measurements. We have a lot of different options here, so if you feel like this is a good need for you, definitely get in touch with us, and we can help step you through a full system. And again, here's HOBOlink. Let me just flip over to this real quick. And this is the secure website where you will sign into. You come into the home page and you log in. It's going to give you a list of all the units that you have. As you can see, I've let a couple of these guys go here, but we've been monitoring the temperature and the humidity here in our sales bay, along with the kilowatt hour usage of the overall bay itself, and then the air conditioning. You can come in and quickly see your past day, week, and month's worth of information. So we've got our temperature. This is inside, and humidity, and as you can see here with we actually just got the air conditioning going. It's finally getting warm enough here on Cape Cod. So you can download all of your data. You can go back. This keeps it from the beginning of time. So this keeps all of your data files here. You can get them in the HOBOware format or a CSV format. And again, you have the ability to change you have your alarm settings here. So if you want to come in and set a particular alarm measurement, you can then have it email somebody. And I do not recommend setting it at 75 and sending emails directly to your facility guy. You get in trouble. But you can have an email or text message. So again, in cases where you may need the remote communications, the cellular option is really a nice option, and you can basically get your data straight out to the internet. And again, this goes back to a point that we were talking about earlier about being able to get weather information at your facility. A lot of folks do rely on a local airport, and in this case it would be Hyannis, which is roughly about 30 miles away from here. And there are occasions where, especially here on Cape Cod, we have funky weather patterns, probably very similar to San Francisco, where one side of the Cape we've actually had during the winter being a full-on snowstorm, and the lower Cape and the upper Cape, it's a beautiful day. So it's really important to get, whether you're doing a full weather station or just temperature and humidity, it's important to understand what's going on outside to see what's going on and compare that to the inside data. You never know what's going to happen there. So calibration, as I look here at the list of questions, there's a good half dozen, and how do we deal with calibration, and how do we, I'm going to focus on humidity because that's really the critical one. Temperature, our thermistors, we use a thermistor, we do not use RTDs or thermocouples. For the limited range that we're recording in, the thermistors work very well and they're very stable. Usually if you see something goes out of whack, it begins recording at -600 or something like that, and at that point it's usually a component failure, and we recommend obviously calling us and talking to our technical folks, and they'll get you kind of taken care of. So on the humidity side, HOBOware, the software doesn't allow you to go in and tweak the calibration of the sensors. Basically, what we recommend is that you check them. There are salt solutions, or if you have access to an environmental chamber and you want to check the sensors at different temperatures and humidities, you can do that. The sensor, we use the same sensor here for the U12s. All of these products are the same sensor essentially, which is a digitally calibrated sensor. They do drift over time. The one for the U10, actually, if this for whatever reason does get wet, we do recommend replacing it right away. But the rest of these are user replaceable. And you'll probably, depending upon your environment, how harsh it might be, you may want to replace your sensor every 2 to 3 years or something along those lines. And actually, as I was stating before, some of these are temperature dependent. So depending upon your application, I do recommend also taking a look at the product manual. Lightning fast internet here. Bear with me for a second. Well, that's embarrassing. Okay, I was going to open up the manual, but it looks like I'm not going to. So to refer to your manual, there's an accuracy chart in here. Definitely take a look at that. It is temperature dependent. Okay. Anyways, so again, if come on, there we we go. So again, we definitely recommend that if you have the ability to check them, please do so. You can also change out the sensors. And then, of course, you have us. So you can call us. We do offer a tune-up service, so you can send the logger back. We do not actually offer NIST calibration for relative humidity at this point, but there are some folks that some third-party folks that we can recommend if that's critical for you. And before I move on here, I just want to make sure that I got most of these. All right. So moving on here, just in summary, the data logger is just one portion of the overall solution here, essentially. You also have the software to go along with it, whether that's on the computer or web-based. In some cases, you have the integrated sensors, or you have other sensors depending upon what you need to monitor. And then there are accessories like the data shuttle that I talked about, and then essentially support, and that's really key. I really want to stress that we are here on the phone. Our technical support folks are here from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. 5 days a week, Eastern Standard Time. We also do offer online chat as well, and then of course our application specialists, they're here to answer any of your questions as well. So in summary, there's a wide range of solutions to monitor temperature and humidity. We have loggers for both indoor and outdoor use. And there are three options basically to answer the question, how do you want to get your data? And that's standalone by a USB offload to a computer or data shuttle. That's wireless to a central computer for real-time monitoring, or web-based monitoring for access over the internet. And I'm going to dive into your questions here. The YouTube site is this. It's youtube.com/HOBO data loggers, where all of the webinars that I do are posted up there, as well as some other tips and tricks on how to use our products. So bear with me here. You guys have been great on questions, so let me see what I can do here. All right, is there a logger that can tie into a BAS system? BAS is a building automation system. No. Well, not really. Sorry. The standalone loggers definitely can't. The USB-based. They don't have the ability to send the information anywhere. What I've seen folks potentially use is the U30 system, where you can then, we have something that's called web services, where essentially you can write a web program that would allow you to get the data from HOBOlink.com and then send that to a particular location. It may not be directly into the BAS, but if the BAS, I think they're smart enough where they can grab a text file off of a network drive or something like that. So that may be an option there for you. Calibration. Okay, and one of our longtime users, thank you, using the boxcar software, should you upgrade to HOBOware even though you're using the older loggers? That's a real good question, and I would say download our 30-day trial and make the determination. Again, you're still going to have to launch or start and read out your loggers with the boxcar software, but you can then open that up in the HOBOware program and take advantage of all the new graphing features that we have in HOBOware now. So I would definitely take a look at that and see what would work for you. Okay. I'm looking for a standalone. Want to be able to measure the temperature in a refrigerator and freezer at the same time. Like to have them print out. What would I recommend? Yeah, I would say if humidity's not required, we have a product called the U12-006, which has 4 inputs, and use 2 temperature probes with it. You're probably going to have to drill at some point, whether that's into the freezer or into the refrigerator, to get those probes in there, or from the top to bottom or something like that. So, but yeah, we have had folks that, especially in larger walk-in freezers and refrigerators, where they keep the logger on the outside and then snake the temperature probe to the inside. The other way to do it, if you don't want to get into the drilling, is use the two separate products that are just temperature only. A couple of U10s, you can throw them in there, and then the software allows you to combine the information after the fact. No, it's not going to let me on. Okay. Bear with me here. Will the U23001 monitor two temperatures? That particular model won't. However, there's another model that will. It's either the U23003 or 04. So again, I'd take a look at the website, and we do have different options. Like I said, we're trying to focus on just the temperature and humidity for this, but as I can see here, for folks, if you're trying to do 4 to 20 milliamps or 0 to 10 volts, yes, we can take that. Any of the products that have an external input, I had referred to some of the other U12s, like a U12-012 that has one external input and a built-in temperature and RH sensor. We can take what you're trying to do is hook up a pressure transducer that has that output, and then you can also scale that, so you can scale it from the 4 to 20 or the 0 to 10 volt readings into real pressure readings. So that's an option within the software as well. Is there an updated HOBOware guidebook online? There is. It's actually it's in HOBOware itself. There's 2 places actually. What I find more useful, there's a full PDF on the website that's about 300 and some odd pages long of all the features of HOBOware. But what I would do actually is start with the help. There's a lot of good things in the help features here. You can come in and we list off some of the new features. In terms of the index, you can do some searching. So yeah, I definitely start here, where you can really dive in and see what's going on and basically go through everything. And of course, if you're stuck at all, definitely talk to our folks. That's an option. Okay. We need two upper and lower alarms on the U14 type logger for refrigerators, a supervisory alert, and then an alarm a couple of degrees higher and lower. Do we offer that? We don't offer that actually. You just have a 1 alarm set point, but you're talking to the right person, so let me get that over to the powers that be and see if that may be an option. absolutely no promises, but I'll talk to our engineering staff and see if there's anything that we might be able to do there. Is a metal door a wireless obstruction? Maybe. How thick is it? You know, are we trying to go through a safe, or are we just talking like the little metal door that's on my shed? It really depends upon the thickness. So yes, it could be. HOBOware Pro, the latest version, definitely recommend. These are, it's a free upgrade. If you come up to Help and then go down, check for updates, it's going to go out and see what's out there. But the latest version is, come on, 3.3.1. I do recommend doing updates. As much as you can. Usually they're coming out about every 6 months, usually tied to a hardware release. We usually do sneak in a bunch of features in there. So as long as your facilities folks or IT department allows you to update, definitely update, and stay on top of that. And as I said before, going into the preferences, there's a lot of new features in there, so definitely check that out. Refrigerator door was the metal obstruction. You're probably not going to be able to get that information out. I couldn't hear. Standard refrigerator. It was a stainless steel refrigerator, a little bit oversized, your Home Depot type job you would do, and yeah, I wasn't able to communicate out of that with the ZW wireless nodes. So in that particular case, you will probably want to, have the node on the outside and then drill a hole to the inside to get the sensor in there. Do we have occupancy sensor? Yes, we do. Brand new product came out in January. It's called the UX90-005 or 006. Check that out on the website. It's part of the Standalone products. Very, very cool product. So check that out. All right, looks like I've gotten to most of the questions here. I apologize if I happen to miss your question. There was a bunch of them here and trying to do this on the fly. If you have any questions, concerns, that is my contact information. Again, our technical support folks are here from 8 to 8 Eastern Standard Time. You can get us at the 800 number. We do have the online help, and of course, if you're trying to determine what product is right for you, please contact one of our 5 application specialists, and they'll be able to step you through some of these options here. And again, essentially, what you want to, we're looking to know what you want to measure and how you want to get your data, and then we can go from there. So I ran a little bit over. So I just want to say thank you very much, and we'll continue to do these on a monthly basis, so stay tuned to the newsletters, and thank you again. Have a great day.